In a sunlit Boston classroom, Abigail Harper knelt beside a wobbly table, helping a kindergarten student glue glitter onto a paper heart. The day before her wedding, her classroom buzzed with 5-year-olds' laughter, their drawings of Miss Harper's big day taped to the walls. A modest diamond ring glinted on her finger, a promise from Oliver Grayson, the charming real estate heir she'd met 2 years ago at a community event. Abigail's life, simple, shaped by years of thrift and single-parent grit, had seemed complete with Oliver's proposal. Yet, as she tidied paintbrushes, a flicker of unease stirred. Oliver's mother, Victoria Grayson, had never hidden her disdain for Abigail's quaint teaching career, and his recent silences felt heavy. "Miss Harper, will you wear a princess dress?" a student asked, tugging her sleeve. Abigail smiled, pushing doubts aside. "Something like that, MIA. Simple but special." Her phone vibrated. Oliver's name. "Everything set for tomorrow?" he asked, his voice clipped, not the warm tone she loved. "All ready," she replied, heart sinking. "You okay?" A pause. "Just a lot on my mind. See you at the altar." The call ended abruptly, leaving Abigail staring at a child's drawing of a bride. She thought of her mother, Martha, who'd worked tirelessly to raise her, and her stepfather, Thomas, her rock since childhood. They believed in Oliver's love, but did she? As the last student left, Abigail locked the classroom, her white dress waiting at home. Tomorrow, she'd marry into a world far from her own, trusting love would bridge the gap. She couldn't know that betrayal and a long-lost truth were hours away, ready to reshape her life. The morning of her wedding day, Abigail woke before her alarm. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains of her modest one-bedroom apartment in Boston, illuminating the simple white dress hanging on her closet door. It wasn't designer. She'd found it at a sample sale, but she'd spent months searching for something elegant without breaking her budget. As she made coffee, Abigail glanced at the refrigerator door, covered with colorful drawings from her kindergarten students. "Miss Harper is getting married," one had written in wobbly letters above a crayon stick figure in a white triangle dress. She smiled, running her fingers over the artwork. Her students were like family, filling the emptiness of her fragmented childhood. Her mother, Martha, arrived an hour later with Abigail's best friend and maid of honor, Natalie Brooks. Martha's eyes welled with tears as she helped her daughter into the dress. "Mom, don't start crying already," Abigail laughed. "We'll never make it through the ceremony." "I can't help it," Martha dabbed her eyes. "I never thought I'd see this day, you marrying into a family like the Graysons." Abigail's smile tightened. "I'm not marrying a family, Mom. I'm marrying Oliver." Martha nodded quickly. "Of course, honey. I just meant such an opportunity." "Oliver loves me for who I am," Abigail said firmly, adjusting her simple pearl earrings, a graduation gift from her mother years ago. "My background doesn't matter to him." Natalie caught Abigail's eye in the mirror, her expression hesitant. "Has his mother finally warmed up to you?" Abigail busied herself with her veil. "Victoria Grayson is who she is. She'll come around eventually." The truth was, Oliver's mother had barely concealed her disapproval since Oliver introduced Abigail. "A kindergarten teacher," she'd said with a thin smile at their first meeting. How quaint. But Oliver had defended her, hadn't he? He'd told his mother that Abigail's compassion and warmth were what attracted him. "Not everyone measures success by their bank account, Mother," he'd said. The memory reassured Abigail as she made her final preparations. The church the Grayson family selected was grand, far more elaborate than Abigail would have chosen. Stained glass windows cast colorful shadows across marble floors, and elaborate flower arrangements adorned every pew. As Abigail waited in the small antechamber, she overheard two of Oliver's cousins walking past. "Can you believe he's going through with it?" one whispered. "Victoria is beside herself." "Well, you know what they say. Everybody has their rebellion. At least she's pretty, even if her dress is clearly off the rack," the other replied. Abigail pressed her back against the wall, heart pounding. Natalie squeezed her hand. "Ignore them," she whispered fiercely. "They're jealous because you found love based on who you are, not what you own." The wedding march began, and Abigail took a deep breath. Her stepfather, Thomas, who had raised her since she was 4, appeared at her side, his eyes kind behind his glasses. "Ready, sweetheart?" he asked, offering his arm. She nodded, pushing away doubts. This was her day, hers and Oliver's. Nothing else mattered. The walk down the aisle felt longer than she'd imagined. She noticed Victoria Grayson's rigid posture in the front pew, her lips pressed into a thin line. Hello. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey. If you enjoy story like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world. Now let's dive into the story. Several of Oliver's business associates were checking their watches or scrolling through phones. But then she saw Oliver waiting at the altar, tall and handsome in his tailored suit, and her worries melted away, until she reached him. Something was wrong. Oliver wasn't smiling. As she took her place beside him, she saw his jaw was tight, his eyes avoiding hers. "Oliver," she whispered. The minister began speaking, his voice echoing. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." Oliver shifted his weight, his mother staring intently from the front row, her eyebrow raised expectantly. If anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. The silence stretched. Then, to Abigail's horror, Oliver cleared his throat. "I need to say something," he said, his voice carrying. The minister looked startled. "Perhaps we could discuss this privately." "No," Oliver said, facing Abigail, his expression cold, distant. A look she'd never seen. "I can't do this. You're too poor." This was a mistake. The words hit Abigail like blows. The church erupted in gasps and whispers. "What?" she managed, her voice barely audible. "Let's be realistic," Oliver continued loudly. "We come from different worlds. I tried to convince myself it didn't matter, but it does. I need someone who understands my lifestyle, my ambitions. You'll always be limited." Victoria nodded approvingly. Abigail felt the room spin, her dreams crumbling. Oliver turned away, stepping down from the altar. "Oliver," she called, finding her voice. "You don't mean this. What happened to our plans, our future?" He paused, not turning. "I've made my decision. I'm sorry for the inconvenience." The inconvenience, as if her broken heart were a cancelled reservation. As Oliver walked toward a side door, guests murmured, some standing to leave, others staring at Abigail with pity. Then, the oak doors at the rear swung open with a thunderous boom, silencing every whisper. Framed in the doorway stood a distinguished man with silver hair, wearing a bespoke suit. Two men in dark suits and earpieces flanked him, scanning the room. The wedding planner flipped through her clipboard. "Excuse me, sir. This is a private ceremony." But the man was already walking down the aisle, his gaze fixed on Abigail. She stood frozen at the altar, tears wet on her cheeks. From the front row, Martha made a strange sound, halfway between a gasp and a sob. "Martha," Thomas whispered. "Do you know this man?" Martha seemed unable to speak, her face drained of color. The stranger reached the altar steps, stopping just below Abigail. Up close, she saw his eyes, a familiar shade of blue matching her own. "Hello, daughter," he said, his voice gentle but carrying. "It seems I'm just in time. I'm William Langley." The name sent murmurs through the guests. Even Oliver, about to exit, froze. "William Langley," someone whispered. "The tech billionaire." Abigail stared at the man claiming to be her father, whom she'd been told had abandoned them when she was a toddler. "I don't understand," she said, trembling. "What are you doing here?" "I've been looking for you for a long time, Abigail," William said solemnly. "And it seems fate brought us together today." Behind them, Oliver turned, eyes wide, calculating. The woman he'd rejected as too poor was apparently the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the country. The church erupted into chaos. "Everyone out." William's security team ushered guests toward the exits. Victoria tried to approach, her expression now a forced smile. "Mr. Langley, what an unexpected pleasure. I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding with my son." One of William's guards stepped between them. "Ma'am, please exit with the others." Abigail stood rooted, her mind struggling. Within 10 minutes, she'd been rejected at the altar and reunited with her billionaire father. "I need to sit down," she murmured, knees buckling. Natalie rushed forward, helping her to a pew. Martha approached cautiously, her face ashen, confronting the man she hadn't expected to see again. "William," she said softly, her voice strained. "After all these years, 25 years, 2 months, and 16 days, to be exact," William replied, his tone neutral but eyes intense. "That's how long it's been since you disappeared with our daughter." Thomas stepped closer to Martha. "I think we all need to calm down." "I am calm," William said, though tension in his shoulders suggested otherwise. "I've waited over 2 decades for this moment." Abigail found her voice. "Why now? Why here? Did you know about the wedding?" William's expression softened. "No, Abigail. I've been searching for years. My investigators located you 3 days ago. When they informed me you were getting married today, I flew from Singapore immediately. I had no idea what would happen. I just couldn't miss the chance to see you." Oliver cleared his throat, reconsidering his exit. "Abigail, perhaps we should talk privately. There's been a misunderstanding." Abigail turned, anger cutting through shock. "A misunderstanding? You called me too poor in front of everyone. You humiliated me at what was supposed to be our happiest moment. And now you want to talk?" William's gaze hardened, evaluating Oliver. "You're the groom, I presume, the one who rejected my daughter for her perceived lack of wealth." Oliver straightened his tie nervously. "Sir, if I had known she was your daughter, then what?" William cut him off. "You'd have treated her differently. Been kinder?" He shook his head. "Thank you for showing your true character before she made the mistake of marrying you." The church was nearly empty, only Abigail's family, Oliver, and William's team remaining. Abigail turned to her mother. "Did you know who my father was?" Martha's eyes filled with tears. "Abigail, please understand. Things were complicated." "Complicated?" William interrupted. "Is that what you call taking our child and disappearing, changing your names, moving across the country?" "You were impossible." Martha burst out, years of emotion breaking through. "All you cared about was your company, your empire. You worked 20-hour days. You missed her first steps, her first words. When I suggested you cut back to spend time with her, you said your business wouldn't run itself." William's jaw tightened. "I was building a legacy for her, for both of you." "She needed a father, not a legacy," Martha shot back. Abigail stood, her dress rustling. "Stop it, both of you. I'm standing here. After 25 years, I deserve answers that aren't shouted across a church." William and Martha fell silent, chastened. "Perhaps we should continue somewhere private," Thomas suggested. "The church staff will want to close up." Oliver stepped forward. "Abigail, I think we should leave," she finished, her voice cold. "You've made your position clear. Nothing has changed." She glanced at William, then back to Oliver. "I was too poor 10 minutes ago, and finding out who my father is doesn't change who I am." Oliver began to protest, but a guard moved closer. Taking the hint, he nodded stiffly and headed for the door, pausing to say, "I'll call you tomorrow when things have settled." William turned to Abigail. "I have a car waiting. We could go somewhere to talk, anywhere you'd like." For the first time, she noticed vulnerability beneath his composed exterior. Despite his wealth, he was nervous she might reject him. "Let's go to my apartment," she decided. "It's small, but it's home." William nodded. "I'd be honored." 30 minutes later, Abigail had changed into jeans and a sweater. Her tiny living room was crowded with William, Martha, Thomas, and Natalie. A painful silence hung. "So," Abigail said, "I'm guessing you didn't just lose my phone number for 25 years. William's lips curved in a sad smile. "You have my sense of humor, I see." He took a deep breath. "The truth is complicated, but you deserve to hear it. Your mother and I met when she was an executive assistant at my first tech company. It was a whirlwind romance, and within a year, we were married with a baby, you, on the way." Martha stared at her hands. "We were young. William was starting to see success, and suddenly he was working all the time, consumed by his company. I was trying to build something that would last," William said tightly, "to secure our future." "But you missed everything," Martha replied. "Abigail's first steps, her first birthday. We fought constantly. Each time, I promised to be more present," William admitted. Each time, I failed. What happened? Abigail asked quietly. Why did you leave? Martha met William's eyes. After a bad argument, you threatened to seek full custody if I kept interfering with your work. William winced. It was said in anger. I never meant it. But I believed you would, Martha continued. You had money, power, connections. I was terrified of losing my daughter. So one night, while you were on a business trip to Singapore, I packed our things and left. I changed our last name from Langley to Harper, my mother's maiden name. We moved from Oregon to Nevada, then to Boston. I hired private investigators, William said. For years, I looked, but your mother was thorough. New identities, no contact with mutual friends. It wasn't until facial recognition technology gave me a lead. How did you find me now? Abigail asked. William pulled out a folded newspaper clipping from 3 months ago. Abigail's school was featured in a local education piece. She recognized the photo of herself with her kindergarten class after a community garden award. Such a small moment had bridged a 25-year gap. I've missed so much, William said softly. Your childhood, your education, you becoming this remarkable woman. I can never get those years back, but if you're willing, I'd like to know you now. Abigail looked at this stranger, her father, vulnerable despite his power. Then at her mother, who'd worked multiple jobs to give her stability. I don't know what to say, she admitted. This morning, I was marrying a man I thought loved me. Now, my long-lost billionaire father has appeared. She laughed shakily. It's a lot. Take all the time you need, William said. I've waited 25 years. I can wait longer. Natalie leaned forward. I hate to bring this up, but what about Oliver? He's bound to come crawling back now. Abigail's expression hardened. He showed who he is today. I never want to see him again. But her phone lit up with Oliver's name. William raised an eyebrow. That didn't take long. Abigail silenced it. He can wait. Right now, I have 25 years of questions for you. For hours, they talked, cried, laughed, beginning to bridge decades of separation. The week after what should have been her wedding day passed in a blur. Each morning, Abigail woke expecting the honeymoon suite Oliver had booked at the Coastal Haven Resort, only to see her apartment's ceiling. The pain of his rejection lingered, overshadowed by discovering her father. William took a suite at the Grand Meridian Hotel, refusing to leave Boston until their relationship began. He called or texted daily, careful not to overwhelm her. Oliver was less restrained, sending voicemails from apologetic to demanding and an enormous rose arrangement that crowded her living room. The card says he wants to explain, Natalie noted, reading it while Abigail watered plants, ignoring the flowers. Pre-wedding jitters, a momentary lapse. Interesting timing for his change of heart, Abigail replied dryly, right after he discovered who my father is. What'll you do? Natalie asked, tossing the card into the trash. Eventually, I'll talk to him, but not yet. I'm sorting through everything else. Everything else meant William Langley. They met for dinner twice that week at discreet restaurants where his security ensured privacy. Abigail learned about his rise from an engineering student to tech visionary. He absorbed every detail of her life, her education, teaching, friends. You've done well, he said at their last dinner. I'm proud of you. Your mother did a wonderful job. His admiration touched her. Unlike Oliver's family, William never made her career or modest lifestyle feel insignificant. Friday morning, Abigail was preparing her classroom when William called. Good morning, she answered, balancing the phone while arranging finger paints. Good morning, Abigail, William's voice replied. I hope I'm not interrupting. Just setting up for a messy art project. 5-year-olds with paint. What could go wrong? His chuckle made her smile. I was calling to make an offer. I need to return to my home in the Bahamas tomorrow. Business matters I can't postpone. Would you consider joining me next weekend? I could send the jet for you Friday after school, and you could stay until Sunday. Abigail nearly dropped a jar of paint. Your private jet? The simplest arrangement, William said casually. It might be good to get to know each other away from distractions. Distractions like Oliver and the media, who'd caught wind of William's long-lost daughter, calling her school and camping outside her apartment. I'd understand if you're not comfortable, William added. Perhaps it's too soon. No, Abigail said. I think I'd like that. Escaping to a Bahamian island after the week's chaos was appealing, and she was curious about William's world. They hung up, and Abigail stood in her colorful classroom, processing that she'd be flying on a private jet to visit her billionaire father. A knock interrupted her. Oliver stood there, impeccably dressed, holding another bouquet. Oliver, she said flatly. I'm preparing for class. You shouldn't be here. He stepped inside, closing the door. Abigail, please. You've ignored my calls. I need 5 minutes to explain why you humiliated me at our wedding, why you called me too poor in front of everyone. Her suppressed anger flared. There's nothing to discuss. I panicked, Oliver said, his face contrite. Pre-wedding anxiety, cold feet. I made a terrible mistake, and I've been paying for it since. He stepped closer. You have to believe me. What I did was unforgivable, but I'm asking for forgiveness. I love you. Abigail studied him. He looked sincere, but she noticed him glancing at his watch. A new, expensive one. Is there somewhere you need to be? She asked pointedly. Oliver blinked, covering the watch. No, you're my priority. You've always been. Really? Because last Saturday, your priority was ensuring you didn't marry someone who didn't meet your financial requirements. He winced. I wasn't thinking clearly. It was momentary madness. My mother's approval had nothing to do with it. I saw her nodding when you walked away, Abigail said. Oliver sighed. My mother's always been difficult. You know that. But I've told her you're the woman I love, and she needs to accept that. What changed her mind, I wonder? Abigail asked. Could it be I'm William Langley's daughter? That's not fair, Oliver protested, eyes shifting. Her students began streaming in, chattering. Oliver stepped back, frustrated. We need to finish this. Have dinner with me tonight. Give me a chance. Looking at her students' eager faces, Abigail found clarity. I have to start class. Please don't come here again. His expression hardened, then he forced a smile. You're upset. I'll call this weekend when you've had time to think. That evening, Abigail packed for the Bahamas, marveling at her life's direction. Her phone pinged with a text from William. Looking forward to showing you my home. It's been empty without family. The message brought tears. Despite the brief acquaintance, she felt a connection to her father. The following Friday, Abigail boarded a sleek private jet at Hanscom Airport. The crew greeted her by name, showing her to a luxurious leather seat. 3 hours later, the plane descended toward Langley Isle. Abigail gasped at the view. Crystal waters surrounding a lush island with a sprawling compound. Welcome to Langley Isle, Ms. Harper, the pilot announced. Current temperature is 82 degrees with clear skies. Mr. Langley is waiting at the main house. William stood beside a vintage Land Rover, smiling widely. You made it, he said, taking her bag. How was your flight? The most comfortable flying experience of my life, Abigail admitted, though I felt guilty having that plane just for me. William laughed. The plane was making the trip regardless. We just ensured you were the only passenger. As they drove along a coastal road, Abigail took in the scenery. This place is incredible, she said. How long have you had it? I purchased the island about 20 years ago, William replied. It was when I'd accepted finding you and your mother might take longer than I'd hoped. I needed a sanctuary. They rounded a bend, and the main house appeared. A sprawling structure with wide verandas and floor-to-ceiling windows capturing ocean views. Staff emerged to greet them. Welcome home, Mr. Langley, a woman in her 60s said warmly, turning to Abigail. And welcome, Ms. Harper. I'm Beatrice Coleman, your father's chief of staff. We're delighted to meet you. Her genuine emotion caught Abigail off guard. Thank you, she said. Call me Abigail. Beatrice has been with me for over 30 years, William explained. She's more family than employee. 32 years, Beatrice corrected, smiling. I've hoped to meet you for a long time, Abigail. William led her inside. The house was open, airy, with books, art, and family photographs. Abigail stopped at a framed photo of herself at 6 or 7, dressed as a tree in a school play. How do you have this? She asked, picking it up. William's expression was sad yet hopeful. That was the first photo my investigators found after you disappeared, from a Reno newspaper, your school's production of The Giving Tree. You were 7. Abigail noticed other photos, her science fair, track meet, college graduation. You've been watching me, she said, unsure whether to feel touched or unnerved. Not watching, William said. Finding moments, ensuring you were okay, collecting pieces of the life I missed. He hesitated. It might seem intrusive, but these kept me going when the search seemed hopeless. Abigail sat, emotions warring. I need a minute. Would you like to see your room? William asked. The guest suite was serene, with a private terrace overlooking the ocean. After William left, Abigail sat on the bed, processing. Exploring the house later, she found a door ajar and pushed it open. The room was a shrine, walls covered with a timeline, photos, clippings, documents, red string connecting them. A map had pins across the country. Wrapped presents stacked along one wall, each labeled with her name and a birthday date, 25 years of undelivered gifts. Beatrice appeared. I see you found the heart room, she said gently. Your father kept everything related to you. Investigation files, photos, your movements. And those, she gestured to the presents, he bought every year, hoping to find you. Why would the board care about his personal life? Abigail asked. Beatrice's expression shifted. That's complicated. Your father's company is public. When you establish a trust for billions, people have opinions about your choices. Succession plan? Abigail repeated. Until a week ago, it was settled, Beatrice said carefully. But now that you've been found, she stopped. That's your father's business to discuss. Before Abigail could press, William called for dinner. You should know, Beatrice added, your appearance has unsettled expectations. Be careful who you trust, including people from your past who might find you interesting now. The warning chilled Abigail. You mean Oliver? Beatrice remained neutral. Wealth attracts opportunists, something William learned long ago. Dinner was served on a terrace overlooking the ocean, lanterns swaying. The food was exquisite. Fresh seafood, tropical fruits. William asked about her teaching, friends, interests, sharing stories of his driven but lonely life. I built this company thinking I was creating a legacy for my family, he said over dessert, only to discover that without family, it meant nothing. Abigail stood on her terrace, watching moonlight shimmer across the Bahamas. Her phone buzzed with a text from Oliver. I miss you. I made a mistake. I love you, not your net worth. Please come home so we can start over. She thought of Beatrice's warning. Was Oliver repentant or an opportunist? She deleted the message, turned off her phone, and felt gratitude for Oliver's rejection. It had led her to this new beginning. The weekend passed quickly. By Sunday, Abigail felt reluctant to leave. She and William had begun building a natural relationship, connecting over shared interests. You'll come back soon? William asked by the jet. Perhaps for your summer break. I'd like that, Abigail replied. And you'll visit Boston. Try to keep me away, he smiled. I'll be there next week for board meetings. Perhaps dinner, and if you're comfortable, I'd like to introduce you to colleagues. Abigail raised an eyebrow. Show me off. Introduce you, William corrected. You're my daughter, the most important person in my life. It's time people know. During the flight, Abigail reflected on Beatrice's warning. Oliver continued his campaign of calls, texts, and flowers. Other changes emerged. A parent invited her to an exclusive charity board. Her landlord fixed a faucet promptly. A barista eyed her curiously. Word had spread. The kindergarten teacher was William Langley's daughter. Oliver waited outside her classroom Wednesday afternoon, dark circles under his eyes. 5 minutes, he said. Too tired to argue, Abigail led him to a conference room. I've been thinking about what happened, Oliver began. I let my mother's expectations influence me. I'm not proud. Your mother didn't make you abandon me, Abigail pointed out. You did that. He winced. We had 2 good years. Does one mistake erase that? It was a revelation of character, she said, noticing him check his watch. Why are you here? Because you miss me or because I'm William Langley's daughter? That's not fair, he protested. I loved you before I knew. And yet you called me too poor and walked away. He leaned forward, earnest. I panicked. The commitment overwhelmed me. I fixated on our backgrounds as an excuse because I was afraid of marriage. Losing you showed me what matters. I want another chance. For a moment, Abigail hesitated. They'd shared good times. Then she remembered his cold eyes at the altar. We're over, Oliver. Stop contacting me. His jaw tightened, then he nodded. You need time. I'll be patient. What we had is worth fighting for. After he left, Abigail felt troubled by his persistence, a desperation misaligned with the Oliver she'd known. That evening, a town car took Abigail to dinner with William at an exclusive Cambridge restaurant. She was surprised to find not just her father but his executive team. Over 2 hours, she met his chief legal counsel, CFO, and head of global operations, each greeting her warmly but with assessing looks. Edward Sterling, William's protégé and executive vice president, stood out. In his early 40s, with sharp features and watchful eyes, his handshake lingered. The resemblance is remarkable, he commented. You have William's eyes. How extraordinary fate brought you back. His tone held a tightness. As dinner progressed, Abigail observed dynamics. Executives respected William but watched him, adjusting comments. Edward was attuned to William's gestures, often finishing his sentences. Edward has been my right hand for 15 years, William explained, noticing Abigail's attention. He joined straight out of business school and has risen meteorically. Many consider him my presumptive successor. At successor, the room's atmosphere shifted. Edward's smile tightened, the CFO and counsel exchanged glances. Recent events may necessitate reconsideration of our long-term planning, William continued, smiling at Abigail. Family reshapes priorities. The implications hit Edward, his knuckles whitening around his glass. Abigail understood Beatrice's warning. Her appearance disrupted a corporate succession plan. After dinner, Edward approached by the coat check. A pleasure meeting you, Ms. Harper, he said smoothly. William speaks of nothing else. Remarkable how quickly you've become his world. We're just getting to know each other, Abigail replied carefully. 25 years is a lot to catch up on. Edward nodded, his smile cold. Indeed. William is thorough when he sets his mind to something. I imagine he's discussing the company, your potential role. Actually, no, Abigail said. We focused on personal matters. How refreshing, Edward murmured. Though, friendly advice. Corporate governance and succession are complex, with legal and fiduciary implications. It'd be unfortunate if William's emotional response to finding you led to hasty decisions. Before Abigail could respond, William appeared, his hand on her shoulder, eyes fixed on Edward. In the car, Abigail asked, Is Edward always so intense? William chuckled humorously. He's brilliant, dedicated, ambitious. He's helped build Langley Enterprises. But he can be intense when he feels threatened. By me? Abigail asked. I'm a kindergarten teacher, not a corporate executive. You're my daughter, my only child, William said. In Edward's mind, that changes everything. He hesitated. The board has scheduled a press conference next month to announce you as my daughter and heir. Heir? Abigail said, startled. William, I don't know anything about running a corporation. I'm happy teaching. I'd never push you into a role you don't want, William assured. But acknowledging you as my daughter triggers inheritance and succession realities. Abigail frowned. This would affect Edward's position. It introduces variables to a future he considered settled, William said. At brunch with Natalie, Abigail shared concerns about Edward and the corporate politics. I never asked for this, she sighed. Now I'm in a succession drama. Natalie lowered her voice. Speaking of drama, have you heard from Oliver? I saw something on Instagram. She showed a post about a developer running on fumes while losing investors. My cousin's girlfriend works at Pinnacle Capital, financing Oliver's developments. His company's in trouble, scrambling to avoid bankruptcy. Abigail stared. That's why he's desperate to reconcile. The timing's interesting, Natalie said. He dumps you for being too poor, then discovers you're a billionaire's daughter as his company collapses. Troubled, Abigail searched online for Oliver's projects. News portrayed them as successful, but deeper digging revealed delays, permit issues, and investor pullouts. Her phone lit up with Oliver's text. missing you. Dinner tomorrow. Something important to discuss. The next day, after her students left, Edward Sterling appeared at her classroom door. "Mr. Sterling," she said, surprised. "This is unexpected." "Call me Edward," he replied, glancing at the artwork and alphabet charts. "Charming space, so different from boardrooms. What can I do for you?" Abigail asked, keeping the counter between them. His presence felt invasive. "I thought we should have a frank conversation away from William's eye," Edward said. "He's brilliant, but sometimes personal feelings cloud his judgment. And you're here to ensure that doesn't happen?" Abigail guessed. Edward smiled thinly. "I've dedicated 15 years to Langley Enterprises, sacrificed relationships, health, interests to build William's vision. I was there during dark days when we nearly went bankrupt, helped rebuild, restructure, emerge stronger. I've earned my place as successor. That's between you and my father," Abigail said. "It has nothing to do with me." "But it does," Edward countered, setting down a student's clay sculpture. "William plans to announce you as heir at next month's press conference. A kindergarten teacher with no business experience, positioned to control billions and thousands of livelihoods." "I haven't asked for this," Abigail insisted. "Perhaps not explicitly," Edward acknowledged. "But your existence threatens what we've built. Unless we find an accommodation." "What kind?" Abigail asked. Edward's expression grew calculating. "You want a relationship with your father, understandable. But you don't need to disrupt succession to have that. Sign an agreement waiving inheritance rights related to company control, and I'll ensure William provides generously." Everyone wins. His audacity left Abigail speechless. "Let me get this straight," she said. "You want me to sign away rights I don't understand to protect your position?" "I'm offering a clean solution," Edward replied, his tone hardening. "William's health isn't what it was. Stressful situations could be problematic." The implied threat was clear. "Are you suggesting my presence harms him?" "Corporate power struggles are stressful," Edward said, "especially when they involve family." Another figure appeared, Oliver, with another bouquet. "Abigail, I was hoping." He stopped, seeing Edward. The men assessed each other with wariness, too familiar for strangers. "Do you know each other?" Abigail asked. "No," they answered simultaneously, exchanging glances. "Mr. Sterling was leaving," Abigail said. "And Oliver, I've told you to stop coming here." Edward straightened his tie. "Think about what I said, Ms. Harper. Some decisions need making before the press conference." With a nod to Oliver, he left. Oliver stepped forward. "What was that about?" "Nothing that concerns you," Abigail replied, placing the flowers on a counter. "Why are you here?" "I've been thinking about us," Oliver began. "Fresh starts, second chances." He pulled out a velvet box. "Abigail Harper, will you marry me again, for real?" She stared at the ostentatious ring. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious," Oliver insisted. "I know I hurt you, but we can start over, elope somewhere tropical, just us." As he spoke, Abigail noticed his watch, a smartwatch disguised as luxury, a text notification blinking. "Who are you communicating with?" she asked. Oliver blinked. "No one, just checking the time." "On a watch receiving messages?" She stepped back. "You know Edward Sterling, don't you?" "That's who you're messaging." "That's ridiculous," Oliver scoffed, covering the watch. "I've never met him." "How long have you known who I was?" she asked quietly. "That I was William Langley's daughter." "I don't know what you're talking about," Oliver insisted, eyes shifting. "Get out," Abigail said, shaking with anger. "And don't come back." After Oliver left, Abigail called Natalie. "I need your help." "How good are your social media investigation skills?" "Legend level," Natalie replied. "What am I looking for?" "Any connection between Oliver Grayson and Edward Sterling from Langley Enterprises, photos, mutual contacts." "On it. Give me until tomorrow." That night, William called. "Would you join me for dinner Saturday? There's something important to discuss." "Is everything okay?" Abigail asked, concerned by his tone. "Just matters better addressed in person," William replied. "Beatrice will send a car at 7 o'clock. Saturday, the driver took Abigail to a medical building in Cambridge. Concerned, she followed signs to a private cardiology practice, where William waited. "Sorry for the unusual setting," he said, kissing her cheek. "I had my checkup today, and Dr. Larson suggested I share the results." A distinguished man approached. "Ms. Harper, I'm Dr. Larson, your father's cardiologist for a decade." His gravity chilled Abigail. "What's going on?" William gestured to a consultation room. Inside, Dr. Larson showed images of William's heart, areas highlighted. "Your father has progressive myocardial fibrosis," he explained. "It causes stiffening of the heart muscle, making pumping difficult." Abigail turned to William. "How serious is it?" "Manageable for now," William replied. "It's progressing faster than hoped." "Without intervention," Dr. Larson said, "he has about 12 months of normal function before severe symptoms. We're exploring experimental therapies." After the doctor left, Abigail sat stunned. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't want to burden our new relationship," William admitted. "But with the press conference and business matters, you needed the full picture." "Is this why Edward's concerned about succession?" Abigail asked. "Because he knows you're ill." William nodded. "He and key board members are aware. It's why succession was established, to ensure stability if my health deteriorated." He reached for her hand. "Finding you changed everything, not just personally but for my legacy." "I don't want your legacy," Abigail said, tears welling. "I want more time with my father. We've lost 25 years. We'll have more time." William squeezed her hand. "But I need to be practical. Decisions must be made." That evening, Natalie arrived at Abigail's apartment, tablet in hand. "You won't believe this," she said, showing images. "A charity golf tournament 3 years ago with Oliver in the background with Edward, a real estate conference 2 years ago with them on a panel." "There's more," Natalie said. "Pinnacle Capital, financing Oliver's developments, has ties to a venture capital group where Edward's on the advisory board." Abigail sank onto her couch. "Oliver knew who I was all along. Pursued me because of William." "I can't prove intent," Natalie admitted. "But his company got major financing when he met you at that community center." Abigail remembered Oliver's coincidental volunteering. "I need to see his apartment," she said. "What?" Natalie asked. "I still have a key. If he's working with Edward, there might be evidence." An hour later, they stood outside Oliver's luxury condo. "Are you sure?" Natalie whispered as Abigail inserted the key. "He crossed the line when he humiliated me," Abigail replied. Inside, the apartment was impeccably decorated. In Oliver's office, his desk was covered with documents, his laptop open. Natalie picked up a folder labeled Langley Initiative, photos of Abigail over years, dated and annotated. "He was tracking me," Abigail whispered, hands shaking. Emails between Oliver and Edward spanned 3 years, discussing the target, planning the approach, strategizing the wedding. The goal was to prevent Abigail from reconnecting with William. A draft post-nuptial agreement gave Oliver control over her inheritance, with a clause for incapacitation or death. "He was going to marry me, take control, and then," Abigail couldn't finish. "We need to go," Natalie said, photographing the documents. Abigail noticed an appointment in Oliver's calendar. Strategy discussion, 9 p.m. It was 8:45. They left before Oliver's car pulled in. Across the street, they saw Edward arrive, entering confidently. "We have to tell William," Natalie said. Abigail nodded, clutching the evidence. Every moment with Oliver had been a lie, part of a strategy to protect Edward's position. Anger and clarity emerged. She'd been underestimated, but she'd show them how wrong they were. "Are you certain?" William asked, reviewing the evidence in his Boston penthouse. Beatrice stood nearby, her face tight with anger. "I wish I wasn't," Abigail replied. "It's all there. Oliver worked with Edward from the beginning." "Our relationship was orchestrated to keep me from you." William placed the documents on his desk, eyes blazing. "And the wedding rejection? Unplanned," Abigail said. "Based on the messages, Edward wanted Oliver to marry me, then use the post-nuptial to control my inheritance. But Victoria Grayson pressured him, and he cracked, creating the situation they tried to prevent." "They sabotaged their own scheme," Beatrice noted. William nodded. Victor's threatening you to sign away rights. Oliver's pushing to elope. They're scrambling. His expression darkened. Any evidence of what they planned after securing your inheritance? Abigail hesitated. A clause about my incapacitation or death. Oliver's company is nearly bankrupt. He needs money. Disturbing implications, William said quietly. What do we do? Abigail asked. Go to the police. William exchanged looks with Beatrice. The evidence is compelling, but much could be explained as business connections. Edward's careful. He'd have insulated himself legally. So they get away with it? Natalie asked. No, William said, his voice hard. But we need to be strategic. He turned to Abigail. Oliver's proposed again, wanting to elope. She nodded. A quick ceremony, just us. What if you counter-propose? William suggested. A second wedding in Boston, elegant, intimate, with close family and key business associates, including me and Edward. Pretend I'm taking Oliver back? Abigail asked. Just long enough to expose them in front of witnesses who matter, William explained. Board members, investors, counsel. People whose opinion can damage them, rather than a criminal case with uncertain outcome. Abigail considered. Pretending to reconcile was distasteful, but exposing their betrayal publicly held appeal. It needs to be convincing, Beatrice cautioned. They'd be suspicious. I can be convincing, Abigail said, resolve hardening. They think I'm just a kindergarten teacher in over her head. It's time to show how wrong they are. Over 2 weeks, Abigail executed the plan. She responded to Oliver's messages with reluctance, then tentative forgiveness, letting him believe his charm worked. I'm still hurt, she told him at a staged coffee shop meeting. But maybe you're right about second chances. Oliver seized the opening. Let me prove myself. We can elope, start fresh. Actually, Abigail replied, eloping feels like hiding. If we're starting over, I want a proper wedding with the people who matter, including my father. Oliver's expression shifted at William's mention, but he agreed. William prepared with methodical thoroughness. Security briefed, documents prepared, board members informed selectively. Beatrice secured a rooftop garden at a prestigious Cambridge hotel, handling details while maintaining secrecy. The morning of the second wedding, Natalie helped Abigail into a designer gown, worlds away from her first. How are you feeling? Natalie asked. Strangely calm, Abigail replied. Everything, Oliver's rejection, finding William, the plot, led to this. Poetic justice, Natalie nodded. William entered, emotion overwhelming his composure. You look beautiful, he said. Thank you, Abigail replied, for everything. This chance to set things right. You've done the hard part, William assured. Keeping up this pretense wasn't easy. Abigail smoothed her gown. It was easier than expected. Once I saw the truth, he was a stranger wearing a familiar face. The rooftop garden was elegant, with white flowers and greenery. Oliver waited at the altar, his smile betraying no hint of his intentions. Victoria sat in the front row, more approving than before. Edward's expression was neutral, eyes watchful. The orchestra played, and William escorted Abigail down the aisle. She felt Edward's calculating gaze. Oliver extended his hand, and William placed hers in his, one final deception. The minister began, reaching, if anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. Abigail withdrew her hand. Actually, she said, her voice carrying, I'd like to share something. Oliver blinked. Abigail, what? Security, William said, and guards moved, 2 beside Edward, 1 near Oliver, others blocking exits. Abigail faced the guests. Thank you for coming, especially those who witnessed my humiliation when Oliver declared me too poor. You're wondering why I'd give him a second chance. Murmurs rippled. Oliver reached for her arm. Darling, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time, Abigail replied, stepping away. My relationship with Oliver was a fraud, orchestrated by him and Edward Sterling to prevent me from discovering I'm William Langley's daughter. Edward rose. This is absurd. William, control your daughter's theatrics. Let's hear her, William replied. Beatrice activated a projection screen, displaying emails between Oliver and Edward discussing the target for 3 years. Abigail continued, Oliver reported my activities to Edward, ensuring I remained unaware of my heritage. The goal was to keep me from my father and, when that failed, control my inheritance. Oliver's face drained of color. Abigail, these are fabricated. Someone's driving us apart. Like this document. Abigail asked as Beatrice showed the post-nuptial agreement, giving Oliver control in case of her incapacitation or death. Victoria rose shakily. Oliver, what is she talking about? Oliver pushed toward the exit, but security blocked him. This is a private matter, he said. I'm afraid you can't leave, William said, not when there's more to discuss, like Edward's embezzlement from Langley Enterprises for 5 years. The accusation shocked guests. Edward's composure shattered. You have no proof. Actually, we do, Beatrice replied, displaying financial records of offshore accounts linked to Edward's shell companies. The chief legal counsel reviewed documents intensely. This is a setup, Edward shouted. You've orchestrated this because you can't accept your daughter isn't qualified to run your company. Conspiring to manipulate my daughter, planning to control her inheritance, potentially endangering her life. These aren't actions I forgive, William replied. Oliver pleaded, Abigail, whatever you think you found was misinterpreted. I love you. Were your feelings real when you called me too poor? Abigail asked. Or only when you discovered who my father was? You don't understand the pressure, Oliver insisted. My company was struggling. I don't understand betraying someone I claim to love, Abigail interrupted. Edward made a final attempt. The board won't stand for this. I've been groomed as successor. The chief legal counsel interjected, the board serves the majority shareholder, William. He's within his rights to designate his daughter, who could appoint executives while maintaining ownership. As security escorted Edward and Oliver out, Oliver sneered at Abigail, you were too poor in spirit to see what we could have built. You're wrong, she called. I chose integrity over deception, a wealth you'll never understand. William addressed the guests. I apologize for this unorthodox gathering. It wasn't the wedding you expected, but I hope you understand its necessity. Please join us for the reception. As guests moved, many stopped to support Abigail. Alone by the altar, she reflected on the irony, twice derailed at this threshold, but this time in control. William approached. Are you all right? She smiled, tears in her eyes. Yes. 6 weeks ago, I was a teacher excited to marry. Now, I've exposed a conspiracy. It's a lot. Life rarely follows our path, William said. What do you want next? For the first time, I know, Abigail replied. 6 months later, Abigail stood at a podium in the Langley Foundation's ballroom, launching her education initiative for underserved communities, focusing on early childhood. Some measure wealth by bank accounts, she told the audience. True wealth lies in connections, compassion, and making a difference. William watched, proud. His health had stabilized under a new treatment, doctors cautiously optimistic. At the reception, Abigail spotted Oliver among the catering staff, serving champagne, his career damaged by his exposed schemes. Edward faced criminal charges and lawsuits, his reputation in tatters. Quite a turnaround, Natalie commented, nodding toward Oliver. From calling you too poor to serving at your launch. Life balances the scales, Abigail agreed. I take no pleasure in his downfall, just in knowing he can't hurt others. That evening, Abigail joined Martha and Thomas for a family dinner, William invited, a scene impossible months ago. They looked at old photo albums, laughing over Abigail's childhood pictures. There she is, Martha called, the woman of the hour. Hardly, Abigail laughed. I gave a speech. The real work's beginning. Don't diminish it, William said. Creating a foundation merging your passion with impact is no small achievement. At the table, Thomas proposed a toast. To new beginnings, overdue reunions, and the family we build despite obstacles. To family, they echoed, glasses clinking. Later, as Abigail helped with dishes, Martha asked, Are you happy, sweetheart? Really happy? I am, Abigail replied. Not as I expected 6 months ago, but deeper. I know who I am. Not just William Langley's daughter or Oliver's ex-fiancée, but Abigail Harper, a teacher running a foundation, a woman whose worth can't be measured by others' standards. Martha squeezed her hand. That's the greatest wealth. Through the doorway, Abigail saw William and Thomas discussing baseball, finding common ground. She thought of the journey: humiliation revealing her heritage, betrayal freeing her from lies, confrontation reclaiming her narrative. "You're too poor," Oliver had said. He was wrong. Abigail had never been poor in courage, integrity, or connections. Surrounded by her healing family, she knew she was wealthy beyond measure.